We'll do just some bullshit talk beforehand, which we just started right now. All right. Let's see. Got a couple people on right now. Hey, new subscribers. Hey, Ben. Hey, Terry. How you doing, guys? All right. Live stream. We're here. Get used to it. All right. So, hey, it was big news. Riz and I were going to record tonight anyway because Riz has, what kind of schedule is it, Riz? It's a wonky-tonky schedule. Yes. Lucky for you. We had spring break last week. Unfortunately, I had to work. But yeah, no, so it's great that you could do this. We got a surprise tomorrow coming on the show as well. We'll let you guys experience that live when it happens. It's a good one, right? It's a good surprise for everybody. Yeah, absolutely. All right, so we were gonna record tonight, and then the CJ Anderson talk came up, and it was like, you know what? Why don't we just throw this up? We'll talk about it now. It's hot. It's a good topic. It's got potential. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and record the segment that's gonna be with the Riz on the podcast. So you guys get a kind of early listen, and then the other part of it is you get to see what's changed between tonight and tomorrow because sometimes we do editing. So there you go. Oh, I thought, yeah. Yeah, and we do unintentionally say dumb things sometimes too. That it's like, how did I not even think of that when it came out of my mouth? That's like, what the hell? It's weirder. It's weirder than thought. I used to be a lot more critical about people when they publicly spoke. But why did you say it like that? That was not good. And then it's like you do it, and you're like, I sound like a freaking cock nozzle. You didn't have to agree with that, but okay. All right. Hold on. Yes. How's that? You guys hear the Riz now? Can you hear the Riz?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. The people on the other side couldn't. Can you hear yourself, Riz?
I can hear myself.
But is there an echo or anything?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Well, let me check that out. Do I hear myself?
No, I'm
Yes,
thinking in your headphones.
I do. Yeah.
There's an echo, or are you okay?
There's a little bit of echo. It's not terrible.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you everybody for the heads up on that. Sorry. We're screwed.
You'll have to hear me tomorrow.
You should have seen. I have an effects rack where we do some things in, and I was rearranging the room, and we're like, oh, let's go live. I'm like, okay. All of a sudden, there's no left channel. I'm like, what the hell? I'm pulling wires, and it's just like, it was a big freak out. So here we go. All right. So we're going to kick into it, and anything you want to say before we go live? Good luck, break a leg, anything like that, Riz?
I'm good.
All right,
good
boy. All right. Get your nubbles there a little bit. All right, gonna hit recording here and say. All right, we got the Riz joining us again. How you doing, brother? What do we want to talk about? We want to say like managing editor of Lions Wire and Browns Wire. Nothing's going on in Browns land, so you're cool there, right?
Oh my goodness, what a day it has been. It's nice to wear my Lions hat, and as you can see, I am in fact wearing a Lions hat right now to remind me that I do still cover the Lions too, because the Browns. I put 16 things up on Browns Wire today. It was quite a day in Cleveland.
16, that's crazy.
Now I'm happy to talk about CJ Anderson and the Detroit Lions because that's fun too.
That's hot news. That's hot news, baby.
It is hot news. It's great news. Can you believe this is something that I wanted last year?
Yeah.
Not at the time when we signed LeGarrette Blount, but when Kerryon got hurt, CJ Anderson was the first guy that I thought of that should come in and take that place.
Yeah,
I have the reasons to prove it.
Yeah, no, this is a big deal, and this is Quinn doing the Quinn thing to me that he always does. Right? Here's a guy who's out there, and it's like, what was it? 4 weeks ago, we're sitting here like, oh man, this team is gapped, right? We have so many problems. We've let people like walk. We don't have contracts. How are we going to do this? How are we going to do? And all of a sudden I'm like, you know what? We can be very, very picky in the draft. We don't have to go for, I don't say we don't have to go for anything, but we're in such a position now. I can't believe the difference. I can't believe the complete freaking shift.
There's freedom to do more things. One of the things that you don't need a running back anymore.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think we are fine with Kerryon Johnson, CJ Anderson, even if it's only for a year, because running backs are, they're cat box liners essentially. You get a new one when it's done, and you go on with what it is. That's why he's on a 1-year deal. That's why he signed a 1-year deal, not even a 1-year deal with the Rams last year. That's who he is. That's the guy that he has become. That's what LeGarrette Blount was.
Yeah.
That's what Zach Zenner is every year. He's that threesome right there is fine. You add Theo Riddick in. He's still on the team for now. We'll see if that persists in another month. But for now, he's still on the team.
So
you're fine there. No running back needed. Bring a guy in for camp. Bring an undrafted guy, some guy that I've never heard of from a JUCO in South Dakota. Bring him in. He runs a 4.3. Sign him up.
So
put him on the practice squad. See what you got.
So for people listening on the podcast, you missed out the live broadcast that we did, so we're doing that. But we're getting questions as we talk here. So Riz, I'm going to kick a couple at you. Okay. This is a good one from Joey 2 times. Should I say Joey 2 times? And he's got a good part.
Get the papers.
Part of him wanted the Lions to wait until the Browns let go of Duke Johnson so he could nab him. I like Duke. I think he'd be a good addition as well. You got all your Brown stuff going today. Duke was set free today, wasn't he?
Duke Johnson will not be a Cleveland Brown in 2019. I think that much is pretty clear. Mm-hmm. The way that he is viewed, and this is especially true in Cleveland, but I think Detroit people will respect this as well. He was the best offensive weapon on their god-awful teams. That doesn't mean that he's a good NFL player. He was the best of a terrible, terrible group of players. He and Isaiah Crowell, who's wound up not being all that good with Jets, now he's with the Raiders. I think that's where the value is, and I think there's some sentimentality towards him because he's a really nice guy. He's a very versatile guy, but he's not somebody that Freddie Kitchens, when he came over and they finally got competent coaching, he's like, I don't need that guy. We have other people that can do what he does and do it better.
Right.
So I think that's where Duke Johnson is at, and I think fantasy players like him a lot because he was really good as a rookie. He catches a lot of passes. As a running back, he's not as good as Theo Riddick. He's not. Sure. He just isn't. He's a better receiver. I honestly think he should be a slot receiver more than I think Theo Riddick should be a slot receiver. And if you've listened to this podcast, all you know, I think Theo Riddick's a slot receiver. I wondered why the Browns didn't move him there. He was their leading receiver in their 0-16 season. But again, that's another case where their number one wide receiver was Ricardo Lewis, who got cut today unceremoniously and probably won't get claimed.
Sure.
So
yep.
That's where I'm at with Duke Johnson. I hate to say that because he's a great dude.
Right.
But he gets inflated because he was a competent player on a terrible football team. On a good football team, he is your RB3 or slot receiver 2.
Right.
That's where I'm at with him.
He could dust up Zach Zenner. All right.
He could help Detroit.
Yeah.
Make no question about that.
Yeah.
But he's not an impact player, my opinion.
With Theo on his way out, he'd wind up being lower in the depth chart than he probably wants to, and that's probably creates an opportunity to have an issue that maybe you don't want in your locker room. So now there's something else, and I've heard this a couple times, and I want you to explain it for us. People are saying that, and here it's Joe B. Bob Quinn set up the signing of C.J. Anderson by offering Malcolm Brown a contract. Walk us through that. What's the thinking on something like that? I
don't follow that, honestly.
I think it's the thinking of it's like a bait and switch, where the Rams were thinking we wanted Brown. They matched his sheet, set him up with that money, and they couldn't keep Anderson.
The fact that C.J. Anderson played for the Rams at the end of last year is purely coincidental in this case. Purely coincidental. It has nothing to do with Malcolm Brown. That's it. That they wanted Malcolm Brown. They fell back to C.J. Anderson, and like I said, the fact that he played for the Rams last year is coincidental to the acquisition of him and with Malcolm Brown. I don't think the two things are related at all. I think this was Plan B more than trying to they have different agents. Yeah. It's all about the agents in the offseason and free agency. There's no team. Ask anybody around. There is no loyalty in free agency, so I don't think those things are related. I think it's more coincidence.
Sure. No, that makes sense. I'd heard it a couple of times, and I was trying to put it together, and I was hoping you could help make a better story out of it than I could. So
no, I don't see that. I could be wrong, but I don't see that.
So what are we thinking now? cap space is a social construct. It's my favorite phrase right now.
I like that. That's good.
I can't claim ownership. I saw it and I've repeated it a couple times. So whoever owns that, props for that one. I should do a better job of attributing that stuff. But anyway, we got a situation where it feels like and it looks like we got a lot of cap space, but we've also got some issues down the road here with guys that are going to be expensive against the cap. We know you can roll over cap. What's your thinking? You put yourself in as the capologist in the shoes of the Lions. Is there room to pull somebody, or you want to try to?
We have the new capologist, and I think it's a very good thing that he's in. It seems like there's a more cogent, long-term view with how they're going to do these things.
Yep.
And that's not to disparage. I'm blanking on his name. But he did a fine job. But I think there was room for improvement. I think we're seeing that in the way that these contracts are structured. The fact that the CBA could expire after 2020, 2021, there could be radical changes to it. I think the Lions are well situated for that as well. That's going way beyond here, but they should probably not spend all of the cap room that they have. And I think it's I don't know what the Anderson deal is, but they had enough to make one more really splashy signing if they wanted to, or re-signing somebody that they need to. If they want to do, Taylor Decker could come up in the next, calendar year. Those, they have the ability to do that. And I think the flexibility to have that is important. The flexibility to sign somebody who might come available in the season unexpectedly, that's important. I don't think they want to trap themselves in that. So the idea of carrying money and not spending it now, yeah, you kind of want to see the good players now, but at the same time, I like the idea that you have options open later, because there will be teams that outspend themselves now.
Right.
It's like if you're doing an auction draft in fantasy and everybody goes gaga in the first few picks. And then I remember this doing a fantasy auction draft many years ago, where Joey Harrington went for like $11, like early on in the thing. And I wound up getting Ben Roethlisberger for like $1, like 4 rounds later, just because nobody else needed a quarterback and nobody had money to spend to bid up. That's sort of the way that free agency plays itself out from here on out the rest of the offseason. And I'm comfortable with where the Lions are at in that.
Sure. Yeah, no, I love having extra money. I love having money for the middle of the year. We've seen those injuries hit, just like you said. And the tough side of that, if you will, is it rolls over if you don't spend it. And right now, I don't know that there's a whole lot. There's not a whole lot to spend on right now, right? I mean, there's just no super impact players out there that are change this team up. Why spend the money?
There are good players out there, but I'd love to see Trey Boston, a safety who I just wound up talking about on the Browns purposes, but he'd look great in Detroit too, as a safety who can do it all. And I think that would free up a lot of other things that then you could get rid of Tavon Wilson, even after he took his pay cut, which I'd be okay with. But yeah, you're not looking, there's not anybody really on the market right now who starts for this team.
Yeah.
There's no sense in signing anybody else. I think you could see maybe a backup cornerback, a project guy, but you're not looking at anybody who's going to make a big impact on Sundays signing right now until after the draft.
It's the draft, and it's
right.
It's an edge and all wide receiver.
There are veterans who are going to get cut after the draft, and you will want to have some flexibility to sign those guys as well.
Good point.
And the Lions have that potential right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very good thinking. We got a question from Over Easy TV. He said we're gonna have to make an "I love Theo Riddick" soundbite. Sorry, buddy.
I fucking love Theo Riddick.
That's an old one. That one goes way back. We got you covered. You know that. Come on.
Nice.
All right, so there's that. Let's move on. This is good stuff. So overall, C.J. Anderson, we give Bob Quinn an A today, right, on what he's done.
I think so. Yeah, it's a good signing. I have not seen the financials of it, but I can't imagine that it's a deal-breaking thing. He's a one-year guy. He knows what his role is. He knows that he is essentially LeGarrette Blount on the depth chart. He's a lot better than LeGarrette Blount on the depth chart. Let's hope that it stays that way. He brings a little bit of a taste of a win. And now Blount brought that as well, coming from the Super Bowl. But this is a guy, he's bounced around a little bit. I think he's hungry to really prove himself. And I like having that more youthful hunger than what Blount had. Blount was clearly... all right, you know what? I know Coach Patricia. I know what he's going to do for me. I know he's going to ignore the offense. I can be me and get away with it. And I think I am hopeful that the Lions have learned from that experience as well, that the familiarity doesn't always make for the best bedfellow.
Yeah. Yeah. But you don't want to be empty bedfellow. All right.
No, you don't want that either.
All right. I'm going to move on from CJ now. I'm going to move on to a question we got via Twitter that they wanted us to talk about, and this is right up your alley, Riz. This is your kind of thing. It's from the blood dides. He's got a question for us.
I know that, dude.
What position groups in the draft had the largest number of top 10 worthy prospects? Meaning, not will be picked in the top 10, but prospects who have the talent, production, and game tape to kind of belong in the top 10. So we're thinking like position groups, right? Right. And let's talk through that a little bit, and then we can talk about how does that fit where the Lions need positional players.
Yeah, I think defensive line is obviously the strength. Quinn Williams is my number one player.
Sure.
You got Ed Oliver, who now everybody in Lions Land has flocked to. He's been my number 4 player all year. I would love Ed Oliver at 8. I don't care that he's redundant with what we got on the roster. I'm fine with that.
Aaron Donald would have been redundant too, right?
Yes. Throw that in everybody's face who says that. Oh, we've already got snacks. We've got Deshaun Handy's great. Yeah, we once had Sue and Fairley, and Sammy Lee Hill was no slouch either. But,
Sammy
Aaron
Lee
Donald would
Hill,
look pretty good.
Yeah.
We had what was his name, Tyron Walker then too.
Yeah,
before his leg got snapped on a cheap shot in Seattle.
Yeah, that one still pisses me off. I really like Tyron Walker.
I did too. Good dude. Could have been a good player until Seattle ended his career on purpose. By the way.
That was absolute shit play, and nothing. It just got buried, left alone. It did really bum me out.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm with that. But like you look at your edges, you got Bosa, you got I'm spaced out here. Josh Allen is another guy. I think he's very much in play at 8 for the Lions, the Kentucky pass rusher, not the bad quarterback in Buffalo. There's you have to differentiate between the two.
Yeah, and definitely not Josh Rosen.
Right. There is one person in the Lions media, and I won't say who it is, and I'll see if that person comes forward in time, who loves the idea of the Lions trading for Josh Rosen this year. We'll see if that person reveals him or herself down the road. I don't want it, because it's been said to me in confidence in private, and it's loopy, but hey, weird things happen, man.
And you can put together a plausible reasoning behind it, right? I mean, you can look at that and say, okay, so it's not in the top of my mind. It's not something that I would do right away, but yeah, it does. I can see how it would make sense. Yeah, that could be crazy.
So those defensive linemen, and Montez Sweat, I don't have him that high. I'm not quite that high on Brian Burns, but those guys are all really good. So there's a lot of depth there. As far as top 10 overall, I'm going through my board and I'm doing it mentally here. So you'll see me looking up, because when I think I look up.
Yeah, look up into the brain, see what that stuff is.
Yeah, exactly. What else is in my top 10? I have Byron Murphy in my top 10. He is not going to go in the top 10, and he should not be a candidate at number 8. He's my number 1. This is a case. He is my number 1 cornerback. He is not my number 1 cornerback for the Lions, because I don't think he fits schematically all that well. I prefer Amani Oruwariye as my number 1 corner for Detroit purposes. And I would probably take Greedy Williams over Byron Murphy for Detroit as well, just because of what he offers and the skills that the Lions look for in a cornerback. They're different.
And I know you're not high on Greedy either for the Lions.
Well, no, I appreciate a lot what he does as a player and a playmaker. I have heard things behind the scenes, and I showed it to you from my phone, the text that I got from someone who has some not very nice things to say about his work ethic and discipline on field.
And it kind of shows through in his tackling, right? I mean, that's where you're really doing your work, right? That's where you're really doing your work and showing your commitment, is when you're in there tackling. That's probably the most committed you are on the field. And when you see that, it's either, hey, the guy can't tackle and we can coach that, or it's he won't tackle and it's something else.
Right. And I loved Dre Bly personally.
Oh, yeah.
One of my favorite Lions from that dark period. Greedy Williams reminds me a lot of Dre Bly. And Dre Bly probably couldn't tackle me in the open field, nor would he try, because I'm a little bigger than him. And I think we get that with Greedy, too. But some of the things, and I showed it to you, and I've talked with a couple other people. I think Greedy's a worthy first round talent. He's going to be in my low 20s overall. I haven't finished my big board yet, but a good player. But I don't think he is what Detroit wants, and that was made fairly clear to me in between the Senior Bowl and the Combine, and nothing I've heard since then has changed that opinion.
Very interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So, but what for as far as who else is in the top 10, Hawkinson is not in my top 10 overall players. I do not have any offensive linemen there that I'm aware of. Although I love Garrett Bradbury from North Carolina State, an interior lineman, and he's going to be close. I'm praying to God that they don't take an offensive lineman before day 3. But if they have to, it better be that guy. Yeah. I like that guy. I like him better than Lindstrom.
I want to ask you
Boston College, and I like him better than Jonah Williams, who I think is going to be a washout in the NFL.
I want to ask you about a different position because it's a massive position of need for this team. We talked about it last week. And a guy that we saw at the Senior Bowl who I was pretty high on. And no, it's not Isabella. I liked him early, but boy, that body catch really did chase me away.
His catch total is inflated because he catches each one twice.
Right. The guy that really kind of knocked my socks off, besides Debo, we talked about Debo, was Terry McLaurin. This guy looked really, really good out there. I feel like he's a good fit for this Lions team if we could get him, and he'd be a real, real big benefit. Unfortunately, I don't know he's going to be available where we're picking when we're picking.
He's in that limbo land where he can go anywhere between like 30 and 70. Yeah. And we got one pick there.
Yeah.
So that's and I do think that's a pretty realistic range. If you follow my draft work at all, you know that I'm pretty good at finding the draft range. I might not match the player with the team, but I'm pretty good about like knowing what general consensus ceiling and floor for players are. And he's in that. I don't think he's going to go in the first round, but he could. But he's perfect because he's a complimentary wide receiver, and that's the role that he's been playing in Detroit. He is a monster on special teams.
Yeah.
That's how he got on the field at Ohio State. And that's something that has to be appealing because I think the special teams in Detroit can go up a little. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
He would play with Marvin Jones and then take over for Marvin Jones in a year. That's an ideal situation right there. And I can see the gears in your head thinking the exact same thing.
Yeah, you got it.
You get a year to groom him behind a savvy veteran who will do his job professionally, and then you turn it over to the fresh young buck.
You need some good movements. You really need somebody to want that 8. I feel like it. I mean, I'm with you. I understand the defensive end kind of role, the edge role that we're looking for. We want to really kind of drill somebody on that. But God, the need. I feel good about our defensive line as it stands. It's not like absolutely massive killer number 1 in the league. It could be like a Josh Allen, right? I mean,
yeah.
But the thing about it is, right. The thing about it is I feel like we're in pretty good shape there, but we are just hurting. Like we said last week, in wide receiver, and to take that 8th and maybe turn it into like a 14th to 16th, something like that, but another second. That boy.
Then you can dip into that. Then you can get
Debo
then you can
and
bring
McLaurin.
Terry McLaurin. You can get Paris Campbell, another Ohio State Buckeye, who's going to be a really good NFL wide receiver, who's in that 30 to 50 overall range. Getting more picks in that area, I would love to trade down. The problem is who's going to trade up and for what.
Yep.
We're always surprised by these things every year. I remember the Julio Jones trade up. It was shocking that they traded Deshaun Watson being traded up for.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes being traded up for.
Mitchell Trubisky.
Mitchell. Still do.
Mr. Biscuit.
I love hearing Bears fans defend that move. He traded up for a guy that San Francisco had no intention of taking. They got played. They're happy. They won the division, so we can't talk too much smack because we're looking up at them.
We can. We can, but we won't. All right. I took you off track a little bit. Any other positions groups that really have you high, or you think that there's a lot of players that are kind of top 10 material, but maybe won't necessarily go there?
Not really. I do like some of the cornerbacks, although I've fallen out of favor with some. They're more like late first, early second round guys. My top 10, I'm doing it mentally now. I think 8 of them are defensive linemen or can play defensive line. Devin Bush is in there. Yeah. He's obviously not a lineman, but he can blitz from the second level like a mother, man. Mm-hmm. I would be very intrigued to have him playing next to Jared Davis in the middle of the defense. I don't think that that's any consideration, but he'd be a lot of fun.
Right. Now, rumor is you're super high on the quarterback class this year, and you think the Lions should take one in the first. But John Henry Smith, he's tweeting at us, and he was talking just beforehand here that he sees this as being a team that they're setting up to take a quarterback maybe earlier than everyone thought, maybe as early as the 3rd. I don't see the 3rd. I don't see anything before the 5th myself. I like his thinking. I like his math, but I don't agree. So you go.
3rd is pushing it, but it wouldn't stun me if they took a guy in the 3rd. If they feel strongly enough about it. My sense from talking to people, and keep in mind, I have not been in Allen Park in a little bit. I've been there since the combine, but yes. Anyways,
you're gonna come in May though, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Because we got that thing going, right?
I'm
Patreon people will know about it because we have that cool chat.
Yes, they will.
I'd like to be part of
it. So I don't think that the Lions view the quarterbacks all that highly either. I think they have a couple of specific people that they like. And I think if they're available in the 3rd, they'll probably consider it. But I think if they're available in the 4th, that's where they're really going to start thinking, this guy might not be here the next time we pick. I would love to say that Tyree Jackson is one of those players, but I get the impression they're just not all that interested in my guy from Mona Shores up the road here. Mona Shores is where I'm facing.
I don't know if you're looking up in your brain, or I don't know if you're looking up in your brain for the answer, or you're looking at directions.
I'm facing west in my house. Interstate 196 is directly behind me. The beach is that way, which means Muskegon is that way. That's right. Yes.
Oh man, awesome. Okay.
Those of you watching on video, we love you, appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks for joining the stupidity.
Yes, yes, we do appreciate that. But I will say that keep an eye on Rippin, and keep an eye on dogs. What's his name? It's not a guy who's normally talked up as being draftable.
Starts with an S, right?
Not Jarrett Stidham. Although I can see the Lions liking Jarrett Stidham. I would be very upset. That's a Jimmy Landis type of situation for me.
Yeah.
I'll think of it. If I think of it, I'll yell it out.
I haven't seen Ripien, and I mean, we saw these guys.
He's all right. He's not. Marcus McMaryion is who I'm thinking of. He's a mobile guy from Fresno State. He fits the bill of being an offensive weapon that they could use in the way that the Patriots did with Jacoby Brissett, who wound up not being all that athletic, but they thought he was because of the color of his skin. McMaryion was at the Shrine game. I know they met with him there. He's a bright guy. He throws a live ball. He can run around a little bit. He's not always sure where the ball's going, but they hopefully can teach those things.
I hope so. It's interesting. Yeah, we'll see. It's unfortunate. I don't.
This quarterback class is so bad, Chris.
It is. Everything we saw, right? I mean, it was so hard. We've talked about this all the time. It's so hard to judge the wide receivers at the Senior Bowl because they never got a ball that was within any freaking wingspan, no matter how big it was.
Know what? It reminds me of the year where the Lions got Matthew Stafford, where there's one clear-cut number one. I think that's Kyler Murray, and I think he's winning over the people who are skeptical on him. And I will admit I'm skeptical of him because I do think he has a fallback to baseball. I do worry about his height. more for how NFL teams will view him and try to use him rather than any indictment on his natural ability.
Sure.
Dwayne Haskins, the more I have watched him, the more I'm like, God, he's really good at a lot of things, but there are a lot of things where he's go back to that draft, Jason Campbell,
right,
that kind of guy,
right.
And I remember the Senior Bowl that year. I think that was the first year that I went, where Pat White was like the MVP of the Senior Bowl and all practice week because he was the only guy who could throw a spiral in the wind. This group is that bad.
Well, and that's the thing, Riz. This is where I'm like, it's all a Landis pick. I don't care if you pick a quarterback in the third or the fourth. It's basically you're throwing away a pick along the way. And especially when you're doing it on a quarterback, you're investing so much more capital. I just am not for that third, fourth. Even with this group of guys, just not. This isn't where you're going to find your next starter. You're not going to find a Tom Brady in this group of kids. You're just not.
Yeah, so we'll do the exercise. We have drafted 2 sixth-round picks on quarterbacks in recent times. Brad Kaya and Jake Rudock. Jake Rudock, I'm doing it right now. Jake Rudock would be quarterback 5, maybe in this class. No worse than quarterback 6 in this class. I think we've seen what Jake Rudock is and what he is not. I would say that Kaya, I really didn't like Brad Kaya, so he's probably.
You were always Team Kaya. What are you talking about?
He'd be down a little ways.
Weren't you always looking to put him in? Maybe I'm misremembering. I thought you were really always rallying behind Kaya, and you were Team Kaya. Oh no, that was all the people that read your stuff. They were Team.
Jonathan Hankins' crew. Thank you very much. There's an inside joke.
Oh God.
There's people you can tell have listened before or not. Yeah. If they get that reference.
Oh man. Okay. Put on the professional face again. Or try to find it. So yeah, okay. So I'm just like, let's just take this year knowing that you are going to absolutely just bottom out if you lose Stafford. It's going to happen anyway.
With Connor Cook as your backup quarterback?
I kind of am. I'd rather, just because there's nobody I'm going to draft that's going to do better than Connor Cook. There's nobody I'm going to draft that's going to win if Stafford goes down. Why am I going to waste a pick and waste that kind of capital when I could get a wide receiver that I need, which is a long-term fix? You've got a guy you're renting as a backup for a year, 2 or 3 on a rookie contract is what you're getting in a quarterback now that you're going to lose with anyway if Stafford goes down. Build the team in the areas you want, and then get your quarterback when you get a stronger quarterback class. That's the way it's got to be.
I did like Connor Cook in his draft class. I had him as the number 2 quarterback in his class, and
he's number 2 in the Lions.
And I'll say this: I was running the Texans wire at the time when he started a playoff game against the Houston Texans. He did not look bad. And remember, they played that game with their 4th and 5th string offensive tackles in that game. And I mean, he didn't win, obviously, but Ode Ibushi won that game.
Yep.
Say that.
So
that's not bad. People got to warm up to Ode Ibushi. He is your starting right guard on week 1. I'll put $5 on that now with anybody who wants to bet that with a limit of 20 of you.
DraftKings.com.
Ode Ibushi can play.
He was the best.
Not real well, but if he's your worst offensive lineman, there's going to be a lot worse offensive lines than you have.
And how did you put it last week? He was the best player on a bad line. And
he was the second best offensive lineman on a Houston Texans team that won a playoff game and scared the Patriots in the next round.
And you put him as the worst guy in your line at right guard.
Yep.
You got Crosby.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, you got Glasgow.
You got Tyrell Crosby in there. You got Andrew Donald, and his beautiful hair is back. That's nice.
Yeah,
He's got luscious locks, man. That's beautiful.
I want to grow mine out just to get some Riz compliments.
So I have seen a wedding picture of you with some serious flow.
Baby. Right.
That was something else.
That was halfway down my back when it was wet. That was the hardest part afterwards. When you'd get out of the shower or whatever, after I cut it all off, I'd like go, and there was like, it was just like a head flip and nothing happened. It would come all the way around my face. It was good times. Those were great days. I was a player back then. Got me, Samson.
Oh boy.
All right. Well, that's that. You got to go back to the Browns work here, or are you taking the night to kind of go chill out now?
I do have to finish one piece that I'm writing about them trading Emmanuel Ogbah for Eric Murray. It's an interesting deal. I think Lions fans can relate to a lot of what the Browns are going through now in how they rose from being 0-16 to where we made the playoffs in 2011. Mm-hmm. That's where the Browns are at right now. That's sort of exciting. Like, oh my God, we got Sue. We got all these really good players. We still got Calvin Johnson. Yeah. Stafford's coming into his own. That's the feeling right now with Baker Mayfield and Myles Garrett, who's I freaking love Myles Garrett. I can't get enough of that guy. And they had Odell Beckham. They've got Jarvis Landry, David Njoku, who is their version of Eric Ebron and is quickly becoming that way with their media, which is really kind of fun to watch too from afar. It's cool to see a fan base that has been kicked on and stepped on and shat upon for so many years, getting a little bit of confidence and swagger and believing a little bit. And I remember that with Detroit, and I remember that going into that playoff season and coming out of that year, we're like, yeah, you know what, this could happen. Okay, yeah, it could happen. And other than the last Schwartz year, by and large, the Lions have not been bad. They've been competitive.
Right.
Almost had a winning record. And it's cool to see that with the fan, because Cleveland fans, as much as Detroit loves their Lions, Detroit also has the Red Wings, who have been really good and relevant for a very long time. They have the Pistons, who they're going to be a one and done in the playoffs, but at least they're fun. Blake Griffin's fun to watch. When what's his name, the guard, why am I blanking on names today? Jackson is playing well. They're fun. They're at least an entertaining team.
You know where we're headed, Riz? This is my prediction. And all we have to do is find the somehow like high school, hometown, whatever connection between Baker Mayfield and Otto Graham. And you're going to have the Bobby Lane and Matt Stafford connection. You're going to have the Baker Mayfield, Otto Graham connection. And you're going to bring back the glorious 50s of football, man, where it was the Browns and the Lions just ripping buttholes everywhere. That would be fun. Wouldn't that be awesome?
My good friend Max has a game program that's framed in his office of the championship game between the Browns and the Lions. I'm like, dude, leave that to me in your will. Yeah. He's younger than me, so that probably won't happen. Yeah. Good times, man. Yeah, so it's cool to watch that, and it's cool, and I would encourage Lions fans to, if you're gonna watch another team, watch the team on the other side of Lake Erie, because they're fun. They're a fun group of people, and their fans are very similar to us as Lions fans.
Get to know them. You're going to see them in the Super Bowl coming soon. That's the prediction.
God, that would be fun.
That'd be great.
All right, Riz. For me personally, I'd love that. Yeah, especially with Detroit playing.
Yeah.
Then I'd have divided loyalties, because Yeah. That'd be tough. The problem I'd love to have.
Yeah. Please.
Stress out about that some other time.
Yeah. When it's a reality, for sure. All right, Riz, thanks a lot, man. Appreciate your time, and I love you working around the schedule for us, man. Great to have you on.
I appreciate you accommodating me. It's tough being with spring break. My family is coming to see me tomorrow, so
that's great.
Crazy times.
All right, hug the rents for me, all right, bud?
I will.
All right, have a good one. Thank you, Riz. All right. That's got it. Cool. Thank you, Riz, man. You're the best. Thank you all for tuning in and checking it out. Maybe we'll do this more, Riz. Maybe we'll do the segment like this all the time, and we'll just do a little live piece.
It's good for me.
It's a fun deal. Okay. All right. Love you all. Thank you, guys. We're going to shut down the stream now, but it'll be here for you to look at later and criticize all the crazy things we say, because just try it. That's all I can say is try it. All right. See you later. Be good all. We'll see you.